They made me sit outside at my own mother's birthday, until my private jet landed. Dear viewers, before I dive into narrating my story, kindly hit the subscribe button, like, share and comment. Your support means a whole lot to me, thanks as you kindly do so, and to my main story. Clara adjusted the tiny gift bag in her lap as the Uber pulled up to the grand iron gates of the Langston estate. She hadn't been here in 6 years, not since the night she was told flat out that she was an embarrassment to the family name. The guard at the gate barely looked at her before waving the car through. She wasn't surprised. If her mother had a say in it, she probably wasn't even on the official guest list. But she had been invited, technically, via a last-minute email from her younger sister Whitney. It read, "Mom's 60th, don't make a scene. 4 p.m. sharp. Formal. No weird outfits." Clara scoffed as she remembered the message. No weird outfits. But God forbid she wear anything that didn't scream designer label. Today she had chosen a modest navy blue dress and a pair of sensible heels. Her hair was in a low bun, makeup minimal, understated, almost invisible, the way they always wanted her to be. The Uber pulled into the circular driveway. Waiters carried silver trays. Laughter spilled from the open patio doors. Clara stepped out of the car, clutching the little gift bag, a rare vintage book of poetry her mother used to love in college. It wasn't expensive, but it meant something. Or at least it would have meant something, back when her mother still saw her as a daughter and not a disappointment. As she entered the garden, she spotted her siblings immediately. Whitney in a gold cocktail dress, her husband boasting about crypto. Marcus, the eldest, sipping a martini while fielding phone calls. The family looked like they'd walked out of a lifestyle magazine. No one greeted her. Few sideways glances. A whisper here. Fake smile there. She found her way to the main patio, only to be intercepted by her cousin Ava. "Oh," Ava blinked. "You actually came. Well, there's a little mix-up with the seating. The tables inside are all full. You'll be out by the heaters. It's cozy." Cozy. That's what they were calling the small folding table near the caterer's tent, where 2 toddlers and the DJ's assistant were already seated. Clara didn't say a word. She just nodded, walked toward the table and sat down. The metal chair creaked under her. She set the gift bag on her lap and looked around. She could hear her mother's laughter drifting from inside, high and bright like it always was when guests were watching. Not once did anyone come to speak to her, not even her mother. Clara could see them through the glass, her mother glowing in a champagne-colored dress, laughing as Whitney toasted her with a flute of Dom Perignon. The chandelier lights reflected off crystal glasses and polished silver. Servers flowed through the crowd like dancers in tuxedos. And there she was, Clara Langston, sitting next to a toddler who had just spilled juice on the tablecloth and a DJ who was watching TikTok videos on full volume. For 10 minutes, she stared at the little gift bag in her lap, trying to decide whether she should just quietly leave. But a part of her, the part of her that still remembered baking cookies with her mother in their tiny old kitchen before the family became rich, whispered, "No. You came to see her, not them." So she stayed, even when it stung. "Excuse me," a waiter said, barely glancing her way. "This table wasn't supposed to have full meal service. Can you come inside later for the buffet line?" Clara blinked. "So, no food here?" "No ma'am, just drinks." She nodded. "Thanks." No seat. No meal. No acknowledgement. Whitney eventually came out to check on her, feigning surprise that Clara was still here. "Oh wow, I thought you might have left," she said, sipping her third mimosa. "Anyway, Mom's having such a great time. You saw the cake, right? Imported from Paris. You should come say hi. Oh wait, she's doing a speech soon. Maybe after." Then she was gone again. Clara's jaw clenched. This wasn't forgetfulness. It wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. Every cold glance, every slight, every fake smile. They wanted to remind her that she was nothing to them. Not because she had done something cruel, but because she had dared to walk away from their wealth and expectations. 6 years ago, when she chose to leave the corporate family business and build something of her own. She had been called naive, ungrateful, and even mentally unstable by her own siblings. Her mother had said, "When you fail, and you will, don't come crawling back to us." Clara had walked out that day with a single suitcase and $42 in her bank account. Now, here she was, back at the same house in the same position, still treated like the poor failure no one wanted to be associated with. But she wasn't the same. Far from it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Everett. "Wheels down. Limo en route. Want me to signal early or wait for your cue?" She smiled. It was time. Inside, her mother stood at the center of the ballroom, surrounded by glowing faces and camera flashes. "To my beautiful children Whitney and Marcus," she said, beaming. "You've made me so proud. And to all of you here tonight, thank you for being part of my journey. Surrounding myself with success, family, and loyalty is all I've ever wanted." People clap. Clara walked slowly toward the glass doors, unnoticed. "Let's get a photo, Mom," Whitney said. "Just the real family." Real family. That was the moment. Behind her, the deep hum of a jet engine echoed through the air. Heads turned upward. People began rushing outside, confused. A gleaming white and silver private jet circled above the estate. The Langstons lived just 5 minutes from a private airstrip, and now everyone assumed someone important was arriving. Very important. Within moments, a black limo with tinted windows pulled into the driveway. Security in sleek suits stepped out and opened the door. Clara didn't move. She stood in place, letting the sound and the spectacle wrap around her. From across the garden, she heard her cousin Ava gasp. "Oh my God, is that her jet?" Inside the ballroom, her mother looked out the window, and for the first time that evening, her eyes actually found Clara's. Recognition. Confusion. Clara gave her a soft smile. The kind that says, "You remember me now, don't you?" Then she turned, walked toward the limo, handed the driver her bag, and stepped inside without a word. The doors closed. The engine purred. And just like that, Clara Langston left the party, without ever setting foot inside it. The leather interior of the limousine smelled like citrus and cedar. Clara leaned back against the seat and let out a long, quiet breath. The chauffeur glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Jet's ready when you are, Ms. Langston." "Give me 5 minutes," she said, pulling her phone from her clutch. She stared at the screen as notifications poured in. Missed call Whitney 3. New message, Marcus. "Was that you?" Email. Langston Holdings, board status inquiry. It was amazing what money did to people. Especially these people. But Clara didn't reply to any of them. Not yet. 6 years earlier. It started in a cramped one-bedroom apartment in a forgotten corner of the city. Clara had nothing but her laptop, a notebook full of sketches, and the stubborn belief that she could turn her passion into something real. She had always loved sustainable fashion. Hand-sewn garments, ethical sourcing, slow design. The opposite of the world she came from, where status was sewn into every brand label and nothing mattered unless it had a price tag and a designer name. Everyone told her she was crazy. Her siblings mocked her on group chats. Her mother cut off financial support after she refused to return to the family firm. But Clara didn't stop. She launched a small online store with 5 handmade pieces, designed, sewn, and photographed by herself. The first month she sold 1. The second month none. The third month 37, thanks to a micro-influencer who found her designs raw and revolutionary. From there it took off like wildfire. 2 years in she had a team of 12. Then a viral TikTok by a pop star wearing one of Clara's coats exploded her business across Europe. By year 4, Allier Studio was a globally recognized brand, known for its fierce sustainability stance and its bold founder, who had, famously, walked out of a rich family empire and created her own. Forbes called her the silent storm of fashion. She was invited to panels, fashion weeks, even Davos. She turned down deals that would have made her billions because they compromised her values. And still the money came anyway. Now, Clara owned 3 homes, sat on multiple boards, and had quietly acquired 18% of Langston Holdings, the very company her family thought she'd never be good enough for. And no one in the family even noticed. Until today. The limo pulled up beside her jet. The sun was starting to set, streaking the sky with lavender and gold. Her assistant Everett stood by the staircase of the plane, holding her tablet. Paris wants to move your Thursday meeting. And that real estate fund is offering another 10% if you consider being a brand partner. Hold them, Clara said, stepping out. I have a few things to tie up first. Everett raised an eyebrow. You're going back. Not to the party, Clara smirked. To the boardroom. She opened her email app and pulled up a draft that had been sitting in her outbox all day. Subject line. Restructuring proposal. Langston Holdings. It included a detailed plan for overhauling the company's outdated practices, and a formal notice that she would be introducing herself as a silent shareholder at the next board meeting. She hit send. Then she looked at Everett. Let's go. From the sky, Clara could see the Langston estate shrinking below her. For years, she had dreamed of confronting them, telling them off, screaming, crying, demanding they see her. But the truth was, she didn't need them to see her anymore. She didn't need validation. She didn't need revenge in the traditional sense. Because this was better. They had chosen to make her feel small. And now, without lifting a finger, she had become the biggest thing to ever happen to the Langston legacy. And they didn't even know it yet. Back at the Langston estate, the party was in chaos. The music had stopped. Half the guests were crowded at the windows or out on the lawn, still whispering about the mysterious private jet. The arrival had overshadowed everything, even the elaborate cake, which now sat half-eaten and ignored. Inside, Whitney paced in stilettos. Are you sure it was her? That wasn't Clara. It couldn't be. She doesn't have a jet. It was her, Marcus muttered, staring at his phone screen. She just posted a photo. Look. He shoved his phone toward her. Clara, in a soft navy blue dress, standing on the steps of a private plane. The caption read, "When they don't offer you a seat at the table, fly over the house instead. #family things." Whitney's jaw dropped. She was serious all this time. About her little sewing thing. Her little sewing thing, Marcus said, pulling up a headline on Google, just raised $40 million in Series C funding from Elon Musk's climate tech initiative. A few feet away, their mother, Victoria Langston, sat silently at the head table, staring at the empty seat Clara had left behind. She didn't say a word to me, she murmured. Not a hello. Not a hug. Not even happy birthday. Whitney looked at her, incredulous. Mom, you made her sit outside. Victoria flinched. I didn't know. You did know, Marcus snapped. We all did. And we let it happen. Silence fell between them. Victoria's eyes flicked to the small gift bag left behind on the patio chair, forgotten in all the noise. She walked out and picked it up, pulling out a slim, wrapped package and an envelope. Inside the package was a first-edition copy of Letters to My Mother by Sylvia Plath, her favorite poet from college. The envelope held a note. I used to think I had to earn your love by being just like you. But I realized love isn't earned by performance. It's given or it's not. Happy birthday anyway. Clara. Victoria held the letter in trembling hands. Meanwhile, Marcus scrolled through Clara's business press features, his fingers shaking. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Clara Langston, CEO of Allure Studio, featured in Vogue, Forbes, and Business Insider. Owner of 2 fashion patents and founder of a climate initiative partnered with 3 Fortune 500 companies. Recently acquired 18% of Langston Holdings, quietly over 3 years, through Shell investments and venture partnerships. His breath caught. She's on the board, he said aloud. She's been on the board for 6 months and none of us even noticed. Whitney blinked. Wait, our board. Langston Holdings. She owns more shares than I do, Marcus whispered. She could vote us out. Whitney grabbed the phone, scrolling through the legal filings. Oh my God! That night, after all the guests had left and the staff had cleared the last champagne flute, Victoria sat alone in the ballroom. She stared at the chandelier, her reflection fractured in the glass above. When did she lose her daughter? Was it when she criticized Clara's college major? When she dismissed her dreams as hobbies? When she ignored her calls? Or was it today, when she saw her child sitting alone outside and said nothing? Regret was a cruel companion. It didn't scream. It whispered. It dripped slowly into the soul. Victoria placed the poetry book on her lap and opened to the first page. A dried rose petal fell out. Clara had kept it, a pressed rose from the garden they once tended together when Clara was 6. A memory long buried. And now, a wound wide open. The city below sparkled like spilled diamonds. From 35,000 feet in the sky, Clara Langston stared out the window of her jet, sipping tea as the hum of the engines soothed her frayed thoughts. Her assistant, Everett, sat a few rows back reviewing tomorrow's schedule, but for the moment she was alone. Just her, the stars, and the silence. It was over. No more birthday parties. No more awkward silences at the dinner table. No more fighting for space in a family that had made it clear she didn't belong. But strangely, she didn't feel victorious. She felt free. And that was better. A soft chime echoed as a message came through on her phone. Mom, I didn't know how much I hurt you. See it now. I'm sorry, Clara. Clara didn't reply right away. She just stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen. Then she set the phone down beside her and let it be. Some apologies weren't meant to fix things, only to acknowledge what could no longer be undone. She leaned her head against the seat and closed her eyes. 1 week later, Clara stood at a podium in a modest auditorium filled with college students. No luxury chandeliers, no designer gowns. Just folding chairs and worn-out notebooks. She was speaking at a scholarship launch named after her late grandmother, the only person in her family who had ever truly believed in her. I want to tell you a quick story, Clara said, smiling warmly. There was once a girl who sat outside her own mother's birthday party, isolated like an afterthought. She was ignored, underestimated, and forgotten. And just when they thought she'd disappear, her jet landed. A ripple of laughter and clapping echoed through the room. But that's not the victory, she continued. The victory wasn't the jet, or the business, or even the money. The victory was this. She didn't let their silence define her worth. She walked away. She built her own name. And she never begged to be seen again. Dozens of young women in the audience were visibly moved. Phones were out. Tweets were already spreading. A viral clip in the making. Later, Clara walked through the city, unnoticed by the crowds, grateful for the anonymity. She stopped at a little thrift shop and picked up a worn, beautiful scarf, just like the one she used to sew when she had nothing but hope and thread. She smiled to herself. Sometimes the world expected you to crawl back, to prove yourself, to beg for approval. But sometimes, the greatest power move was walking away with grace, and letting your success echo behind you. In the Langston estate, Clara's siblings now sat in emergency board meetings, slowly realizing that the business they thought they controlled now answered to someone else. A someone who never raised her voice, who never retaliated with pettiness, who had simply moved smarter, quietly, and won. And in Victoria Langston's bedroom, the poetry book sat on her nightstand, next to a framed childhood photo of Clara with messy curls and garden soil on her cheeks, laughing as she held up a flower. It was the only photo in the room. They say success is the best revenge. But the truth is, peace is better. When they made me sit outside, I didn't realize they were giving me the perfect seat to watch my own rise. And when my jet landed, I wasn't arriving to impress them. I was leaving for good.